Good morning, it's November 29th, and this is To My Liberal Friends. Well, I hope all of you had a happy Thanksgiving, but now we have to look at what's going on in the country again. And some Democrats are wondering why they lost the past election, and they lost in every imaginable way. In August, right after the Democratic Convention, the leadership of the party was telling everyone that would listen that they were on the cusp of a huge victory. Kamala Harris would become the first woman president. The Democrats would retake the House of Representatives, and they would hold the majority in the Senate. And if you listen to someone like Chuck Schumer, the Democratic leader in the Senate, this was a slam dunk. And once the election was over, they were going to push the progressive agenda through the Congress and onto the desk of President Harris. To do this, they would have to change the rules of the Senate and abolish the filibuster rule. But it would be good for the American public, and the people would come to realize it once they were finished. But as we all know, none of this came true. Kamala Harris went down to defeat, losing not only the Electoral College by losing all 7 swing states, but for the first time in 20 plus years, a Republican won the popular vote. They failed to retake the House of Representatives, and they not only failed to hold the Senate, they witnessed 3 of their incumbents go down in defeat and a few more barely eke out victories. It was the Republicans that swept all 3 seats of power in Washington, D.C. It forced Chuck Schumer to take to the floor of the Senate and plead with the Republicans not to do to them what he had planned on doing to Republicans in the Senate. The new Republican leader, John Thune from South Dakota, noted all of this blather from Schumer, but let him know that Republicans had honor and would continue to keep Rule 22, the filibuster rule. He had no intention of abolishing it because they believed it was a critical part of the Senate and could be a tool to force the 2 parties to work together on many issues. You can bet Schumer will try to change it if he ever gets a majority again. Before we get to what the Democratic Party should be doing, we have to understand where they have been for the past 4 years. They've adopted the far left wing of their party's agenda. They've pushed policies like DEI, redistribution of wealth, climate and social mandates, and a foreign policy that ignored friends while hiding behind some allegiance to left-wing protesters on campuses and in cities. To make any move will be difficult because that far left of the Democratic Party will resist. Over on MSNBC, the network with collapsing ratings, Joy Reid, who sees everything through the lens of race, went on a rant this week. She advised progressives to avoid even having Thanksgiving dinner with Trump supporters. The Progressive Caucus in the House has demanded the party stay the course and not abandon the causes they've championed. They want to push forward with all of the issues I mentioned above. They want to resist the new majority and the new president, and they have called on all Democrats to join them. Now, being a moderate Republican, I have to hope they are successful because it's a prescription for losing more elections. You will notice that the majority of these ultra-liberal progressives come from urban districts, deep blue districts, where big government policies are popular. But I can give the Democratic Party some advice. The nation as a whole is not far left. The nation as a whole does not support these highly progressive policies. We are center-right as a nation, and they would simply look at an electoral map, they would see all the red that dominates outside of these urban cities. To continue with the same old playbook that Democrats have used for the past decade will doom them. They've already alienated many of their former supporters. The working class of this country has abandoned them, and it is the progressive policies they have pursued that forces these voters to rethink their allegiance. Republicans are the model they should be looking at today. Republicans have an agenda that focuses on the issues that the voters care about: the economy, immigration, smaller government, helping the working class, improving health care and making it more affordable, and finally, understanding the power the United States has in foreign policy and supporting democracies and not terrorists. Democrats have to abandon their policies that encourage bigger government and more government intervention in people's lives. You may recall the group No Labels that flirted with the idea of mounting a third-party candidate. They had the right idea and policy when they said to solve today's economic challenges before they become impossible to solve tomorrow, Washington must stop spending so much more than it takes in. Got it. That's what we ought to be doing. The fight will now begin with the Democratic Party and will not be pretty. As I said, progressives within the party are entrenched and will not back down on their objectives. The Democrats that are concerned about winning elections will try and convince them they're on the wrong side, but I suspect it will fall on deaf ears. Republicans now have a chance to solidify themselves with the voting blocs that moved their way in the election this year. The inroads they made with black voters, Hispanic voters, and young people can only be sustained if they deliver. That means securing the borders, cutting government relations, reducing deficits we are running, increasing economic growth, and make people feel safer in their communities. If they fail, they might find themselves struggling to win as much as the Democrats struggled this year. This has been To My Liberal Friends. If you enjoy the podcast, hit the subscribe button. Thank you.